Good evening, dandies. Welcome to Undetermined, the podcast.
Be careful, everybody.
Your computer might explode.
Right.
I hate when that happens.
We cannot guarantee that it will not.
Just make sure you're cautiously podcasting with the utmost care.
I can't
my next
protect
band.
this podcast from terrorists.
No, you can't. At least maybe from gremlins. So it is September 15th, 2019. I got the year right that time.
That's cool.
Yeah. And we've got a very special guest joining us tonight. Tom, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Tom Urquhart. I am the trombone player for a band by the name of Henry the Archer.
Right on.
So
Yeah, good band.
Texas. Thank you. Yeah. I've just been playing with them for a couple of years. Henry is basically Richard Hennessy, who's a lead singer, and he's the juggernaut, the driving force. And I got invited to play. They had on their last album, Zero is a Number. They have a song called New Mexico that has a horn part on it. Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
Richard and I knew each other from different circles, and I was fetching some airplay here locally in North Texas, and they wanted to play it live. Well, on the recording, it's Richard playing trumpet, overdubbed. And I was like, oh, well, I can play I can fake a trumpet. I need to borrow one because I traded my trumpet for a trombone. But he said, just play what you got. So I brought it. We did a run through, and we sort of had a little bit of a honeymoon there that we kind of, we hit it off, and we added a solo section to the live performance, and just go for it. It's like, all right. And from that point on, he just gave me license. If you hear it, play it. So a lot of those songs off the last couple albums sound a lot different live now because it's got a horn part on it. So
yeah, I was going to ask you about that. It's interesting. I just wondering what that first track was, or you came in. So you're both from Fort Worth, just around that area.
Yeah. I grew up on the west side, a little neighborhood called Ridgely. My dad came here from originally. Well, he was in aerospace in the '60s, and went to Seattle and Atlanta, and then moved to Fort Worth to work for at the time it was General Dynamics, which became Lockheed. Anyway, so we were a West Side middle class family, like a lot of West Side middle class families, and went to school, and I play piano. I'm a nominal piano player at best, but I still love playing it and scaring the neighbors, playing Christmas tunes, in July because I can. And I played sports, so I had like piano season, and then I played, baseball, basketball, and got to high school and couldn't convince my mom to sign the permission slip to play football. So I joined the band.
I could kind of, they take football to another level, high school football, especially in Texas.
Oh, it's a religion.
I figured
definitely.
That out. Yeah. I lived very briefly in Lubbock, and I knew, but at the same time, experiencing that firsthand is a different thing.
Oh yeah,
and I like football, but goodness gracious,
yeah, I'm an awful sports fan. I like a good game, but I couldn't quote you box scores or anything like that. But
right, yeah.
I met a girl from Mississippi, and we got married. I married into the SEC, and I just thought they took football seriously in Texas, and they do. But man, Mississippi, the deep South, it's a whole nother, it's a big deal. All those little towns, it's a big event. So, and maybe it's just growing up in the Metroplex in a bigger city. I don't see it as much, but those small towns,
right.
it's a big
right. Well, you've got the big league stuff to distract you there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I would imagine,
Yeah, we just well, I live in Columbia, Missouri, home of the Tigers. Matt's in Kansas City, but we just got taken up into the SEC. How long ago was that, Matt? The Tigers.
4 or 5 years ago, something like that.
Ago. Yeah, it's quite an experience. Pretty rabid fans. Yeah,
and it was crazy because I was living in Columbia with Jon at the time. Not in the same house, but both of us in Columbia. And although we were over at each other's houses frequently.
Sometimes, practically,
Practically, we lived, a block from each other for a time. Anyway, it changed the landscape in that town.
It did.
Just going from, Big Ten to SEC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they.
Gosh,
nobody would give us any credit for the longest time for when we were, climbing up rankings for a couple of years there, and just, nobody would even acknowledge that we were part of it. The longest time that we went in the SEC. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
There were like
it's a
multiple hotels that got thrown up, and
oh yeah, yep, a bunch of money came in as a result, which I'm glad. It's nice.
Yeah. They'll fill those hotels. They'll come in for the games there. So yeah, it's a different culture altogether. But yeah, so I couldn't get my mom to sign the permission slip. I ran off and joined the band, and I've always liked trombone. It's like my best friend, had this beautiful Holton, and it was like, show me how to play that thing. And I woodshedded that summer, and then joined the marching band. And apparently I have good tone, and it got me a lot further. It got me into some sticky situations where I go audition for orchestras and get the part. And then it's like, holy crap, you look at the sheet music and it's like, can I take this home with me? But humbling. Yeah.
Trombone was actually my first band instrument. I was, like 6th grade at the time or whatever. And back then they threw us all into like a gym, and they were just like, here, pick up an instrument, see what you can do with it. And like, they just kind of assigned you one, like a salon, just like, okay, you get to play trombone, you can't blow through a reed for shit. So you're going to play this, so I got the trombone, and I like playing it. I enjoy playing it, but I could not read sheet music for anything. It didn't stick with me. So I went through and I wrote the positions, down above the notes. Was trying to keep that a secret from my band teacher for a long time, and he found out. I wasn't allowed to band anymore. He's like, you've got to be able to read the sheet music. I was like, I can't. Well, this is not.
It's like kind of like the trombone version of
of tab
guitar tablature, where it tells you where to put your fingers.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Where's the bell?
Right. And it's like I knew eventually the songs were going to get harder, and it was going to, that wasn't sustainable. He was absolutely right, but instead of just encouraging me, he caught me in a lie and kicked me out. So
wow.
Yeah, he was pretty hardcore.
That's pretty hardcore, man.
He was.
Yeah,
he was kind of a jerk. Yeah. He also used to, I noticed, I was watching one of your videos too, and it's like, and I noticed sometimes you'll blow your cheeks out, the Dizzy Gillespie kind of, and boy, nothing would irritate him more than seeing that too. He'd fire rubber bands at us.
Yeah.
Cheeks were blowing out, we were keeping them in. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. If I'm in a classical setting, then the cheeks stay in. Yeah, because it really does
Right.
upset people. It's like showing up to a gig without pants on. It's socially unacceptable. But yeah, when I'm blowing out, and playing something that's not classical, then you just lay it into it and just get the sound that you want, and it just sort of happens.
So does that affect the tone much, whether your cheeks are in or out?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, yeah, because I mean, the stuff that I do with Henry, it's definitely sort of a signature kind of sound. And yeah, when you're playing something like classical, when you're playing something like that, you are like a pipe on a pipe organ. I mean, it's just you're just supposed to reproduce the sound and the dynamic, and you're not supposed to put any personality in it. I hate to say that, but
Right.
to me,
Mm-hmm.
just play the tone, and do that, and I could do that, but I also respect the fact that I don't have that discipline. I couldn't be a studio player. I've gotten to the
Right.
point where I'm old enough, and I kind of got my little niche, and I don't. Sadly, I don't have any. I didn't take any theory, so I just start playing by ear. So it's like I can read sheet music, and that's great, and that's gotten me, some little bit parts, with bands around town doing, singles here and there,
Mhm.
and and then playing by ear. But it's like I almost, I almost. There was a run through with a band. They needed someone to sub for their trombone guy, but they didn't have any tracks or anything written down for the trombone part. They just gave me the finished piece of music,
Yeah.
which was highly produced, and they basically just play something that fits. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I did. I ran through and just kind of drummed up the part. And it just so happened to mimic the lead trumpet part too much. And the lead trumpet guy was one of these 1 o'clock jazz guys from North Texas, and he was pissed, because I was stomping all over the part. I didn't know it until we did the run through, and he shows up, and he's glaring at me the whole time. He's like, "What are you playing? Play your part." It's like, here's what I came up with. You can't do that. Like, oh, so I'm having to improv. Like, okay, I'll just play thirds or something. Just trying to guess some sort of harmonic something. And it's like, dear Lord, it was just beating just to make $100 to fill in for the guy for this band, playing this thing. And it's like, golly. So anyway, it's not all lab guys are like that, but when I've run into trouble, it's usually been lab band guys that are that know all this theory, and they're spitting it out at me like, well, this is an augmented 38th, blah 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 blah. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Just tell me, do you want me to play a sad song or a happy song? I can do that. And just tell me what key, and I'll go.
Right.
Anyway, but I've been very lucky. I mean, I just I go out and play, and people know what I can do, and then I get gigs doing what I do, apparently. So I feel blessed that way, So yeah, I wish I did know more theory, but I just don't have the time to. Well, I don't have the will to do it. Honestly, I don't have the discipline. I just okay. I'm going to do these riffs, and people like them, and just work them and work them and work them until they kind of fit into a solo or some part, and we'll go from there. Or I mean, or basically, I say, if you want me to play something specifically, write it down. And I'll play it. But a lot of the folks I work with don't write music. So you just got to play by ear.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, they can't really get mad at you for not. Well, apparently they did, but they can't get mad at you for not. For not being able to read their mind. But how many instruments do you play then?
A couple. I would say I play piano and trombone, but I anything with a keyboard I can do. I can fake a trumpet. I can fake a French horn. But I mean, really, I'm just matching notes. I mean, I don't really. It's hard for me to explain, but I don't really. with the trombone, there's enough hours put into it, enough muscle memory where I can actually feel notes. Like
Right.
okay, D is here, that kind of thing. Whereas, a trumpet or a saxophone or something like that, I really kind of have to think at first, like, okay, where is that now? So it puts
Right.
me back,
The keys.
Right.
puts me
Yeah.
back to middle school thinking about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes.
So yeah, it's funny. It's
I
like,
can
especially
definitely see that.
I remember I was playing a gig one time, and the bass player leaned over and I was playing. And he goes, "Do you play guitar?" And it's like, dude, I live in Texas. I mean, it's everyone can play guitar, so there's no need
Right.
for another guitar player, in Texas.
Right.
And half the guitar players are really good at what they do, so there's no need for another good guitar player. I'll just stick to this one
Right.
instrument. But if you want, auxiliary percussion or a French horn sound or something like that, I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to be a
Mhm.
journeyman in that way. But I just I appreciate the guitar, but it's so saturated here.
Yeah.
We have a gluttony of talent here on the guitar, and it's like I don't need to feed into that. I'll just pick my little narrow stripe over here and do this thing, and it seems to work for me.
Well, it's kind of funny. It's like Mike Silverman kind of said that. That one guy who was on the podcast before, he was just like, just being a stand-up bass player, it carved out a nook for him, but he was like, I know that somebody's always going to be looking for somebody to play this instrument, and not everybody can, and, don't have to worry about a lot of competition. So I got him in a lot of gigs, but it makes sense. I mean, I've always kind of thought like guitar is just so, to me, sometimes it's real counterintuitive, just that, when you're going up a fret, but going down a note, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around sometimes.
If I did play a string instrument, it would be bass. I love bass, and I think part of that is, it's just, I've always liked that role in the band and everything, but it's also the rhythm section. So I'm attracted to that. And, as a horn player, there's lots of room for a horn player in the, around the rhythm section, so that's one of the things playing with other players that play electric instruments. It's much different than an orchestra where everyone's kind of sort of, physically sort of on the same plane, it's all breath, but playing with electric instruments, everything's up front, vocals, lead guitar, all that stuff. And there's this space between everything up front and then bass and drums in the back. And I just work the margins, I just kind of just drop in, and there's plenty of room in the margins, to play. Now it's just a matter of time, picking when to play, that kind of thing. So, but I love it. It's a playground for me. It's gravy. With playing with Henry, I joke about it, but it's true. I mean, I get all the fat lady parts. It's it's almost like I mean, Richard is alpha. So his vocals are so dynamic, and he's got such a huge range. So for me, I'm almost like a backup vocalist. Just got to be careful not to wander into, a passage where he's having a moment, vocally, but when he's not singing, then it's wide open, and he encourages that. And it's like, it's a little unusual for a horn guy in Texas to hear that, just go for it. And it's like, really? All right. And run with it. So,
right. And, I can't imagine that was like when you picked up the trombone, that was something you envisioned for yourself down the road. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm curious. What was your vision? What were your trombone dreams as a child?
Yeah, it was kind of, because I mean, my background was more classical, and and then in school, fell in love with the Beatles, then fell in love with the Stones, and then discovered Bob Marley, and kind of kept going that way. And then what really changed for me was Oingo Boingo. I was like, holy crap, there's this band with a horn section. I wanted to be in a band like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then about, I don't know, 8 years ago, thereabouts, I got that opportunity. A friend of mine put together an Oingo Boingo tribute band, which was a logistical nightmare. But he was like,
oh, nice.
He's like, I want to do this thing. And it's like, yeah, are you interested? Yeah. And we had like 8 rehearsals, but, 9 members in this band. At least half the guys are working musicians, and half of those guys are on tour. So, scheduling rehearsals was just awful.
Oh, yeah.
And we realized that the first rehearsal, you just expect it to be rough. But that first rehearsal is like, what's wrong with us? It just sounded awful. And then we realized there was different arrangements. Yeah, everyone was listening to different versions of the songs. And it's like, so we had to agree on which version of the song, we're aiming this for a Halloween show. And we really got like maybe 6 good rehearsals in, and it was still kind of like that last rehearsal, like, yeah, we can sell this,
Yeah.
And it just,
almost,
but it clicked the night of the show. It clicked. I mean, the first tune, which was Dead Man's Party, was like, yeah, okay, that was good.
Yeah.
It was, I'd give it a B minus. It was a good effort. But the crowd started getting into it, and that's the sort of that gestalt of the performance. Like, you realize, holy crap, a room full of people can make you play better. And we just you felt that adrenaline and started going, and dang, it's like we just nailed it. It was just one of those moments like, I'm so happy for this. And then the sax guy in our group, once we were done with the set, he left the stage, and they were asking for an encore. It's like, we don't have anything else. We could play the first song again, I guess. And we had to go find the sax guy, because he was kind of like, we're done. That was perfect. I don't want to mess it up. It's like, they're kind of asking me to play another tune, and you need to be up here to do this. Let's go. But it was also my introduction to playing by ear, because my buddy, the sax guy, he's in that Henry the Archer video, the Bad, that new song. He's the sax player in that.
Yeah, I shared that one today. It's a good song.
Yeah, and we're best buddies. He remembers me back when I had hair and I was skinny. But yeah, he was freaking out. He was like, I don't have time to write this down. He wanted to chart it out, and it's like, yeah, you're right. You don't have time to do it. So we're going to have to do it like, I don't know how kids did it in their, you got to listen to it. We'll pick the parts. You're the alpha dog on the horn section. You got to do some traffic, direction here, but we just got to pick and hammer it. And it was tough work. It's a different part of the brain playing by ear than it is reading a note off a page and reproducing it. At least for me it is. And I kind of like this. And then I started realizing that's when you start.
I was just going to say, that's always been fascinating to me, because I love music, and I wish I had the gift of really making it. But I listen to it closely, and I really pay attention as best that I can. And it's fascinating to me to watch sometimes people that have never worked together at all, and just kind of sit down and find something together. And it comes together like in real time.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's amazing to me that can be done. It just almost, from my perspective, it seems like it shouldn't be possible.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean, I saw an interview with Robin Hitchcock, and he was describing it as communion, and and it's like, you know what? That kind of makes sense. Because I mean, I've been in different bands, different combinations of folks where we made some beautiful music together. But these are like, it's like I can't stand that guy over there, but I love the way he plays bass. It's just like
Right.
you leave all your baggage at the door, and then you just go in and you offer up what you can do with your instrument, and it just it's a very human thing. It's I don't know. And it can be kind of spiritual. It's my favorite part of church growing up, frankly, was the music.
Yeah.
Well, in that you're all tapping into something that's not any of you individually.
Right. Yeah.
But you're finding it together.
Yeah.
Right. It's the whole bigger than the sum of its parts.
Like Gestalt thing again.
Thing.
So what kind of church did you grow up in?
It was a small church. It was funny because my dad's the traditionalist in our family, and my mom was sort of the closet rebel. I don't think she cared if we went to church, but my dad wanted to go to church, so I went to one of those little Episcopalian churches where the mass was, or the service was a lot of Latin, and I liked the censers. They had they swung the things with the smoke and everything. I thought that was cool. Yeah. But I was young enough to go,
oh, yeah.
What the hell is this language? Latin, I don't know this language, but I think maybe that's, I dialed into the music, but it was later in life, I found out that I had ADD. And I didn't realize that maybe, I'm really distracted, but that's one of those things where it's like, oh, the music, I can really dial into that. And I don't even have to know the language that goes along with it to, appreciate, the message and the music behind it. But
yeah, from what I hear in a lot of cases, just of people that have it, it's like with ADD, it's just like a lot of stuff in your childhood, school, things like that doesn't work out too well for you but as you get older, you can find ways to apply it, and it can be beneficial in some way. I don't know. I've heard that from some people anyway. I don't know. It's true for other people. Yeah,
I'll agree with that. I'm better. ADD, so I can relate to it. You know what? I've got a job. I contribute to society. The thing that I've come to embrace about having ADD is your mind is all over the place all the time, which could be totally frustrating, but it also leaves you with this ability to really be able to see outside the box. Right. I'll look for every angle on something, and it's second nature for me to do it. And I'm noticing things that other people don't notice most of the time.
Yeah, actually,
just simple things like driving down the road, even, and I'll point shit out to my wife, and she'll be like, "Why do you always see this shit?" Because I'm ADD, and I can't stop myself. I'm always checking out everything.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know. That's my experience. Sounds like,
oh my gosh, yeah.
Experience.
I'm not medicated now, but when the first time my doctor, who's pretty conservative with the meds, but she was, we had that little 10 question, yes, no sort of battery. As soon as she gave me that little battery, and she didn't miss a beat. Usually she wants to go, holistic and like, okay, let's see what your diet's like and do this, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, just, give me a pill to fix this. She didn't, she did not bat a lash. She's like, yeah, you might want to consider something. And Vyvanse was the medication that gave me. And I remember when it kicked in, I was like, oh my God, this is how normal people think. It was like, instead of, in retrospect, it's one of those things where you don't know until you get there. But it's like, wow, apparently you operate with, it's kind of like picture in picture, 128 channels going on simultaneously. And apparently normal people only have 4 channels. It's like, wow, this is a lot easier to manage,
Right.
But,
it is.
But being aware of it, being aware of stuff like hyperfocus, and being able to manage that and go, okay, I can use that and go work on this issue, is very helpful. But yeah, sometimes I don't have control over it. So sometimes I'll hyper focus on something that's like, why am I doing this? Oh, damn it. I don't want to, I don't want to overthink why the pattern on the couch is that way, because it doesn't mean anything to anybody else, including me. Why am I focusing on that?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
but I'm
totally.
I'm good with processes, like in the work environment, you know, where, you know, it's like, you know, you look at efficiencies and stuff. You just look at stuff like, I wonder if there's a way to do that where you can skip a couple generations, do that quicker. You know, I'm pretty good at that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But again, it's one of those things. You know, you have to have someone else that recognizes that you have that ability in order for you, you know, to be in a position where you can do that. You know, but anyway, it is what it is. But music has always been a really, I've really appreciated the sort of the it is communion, and what you know, the way Hitchcock describes it is it's something, you know, that's a good common denominator, and it's been a soundtrack for me, you know, always. I mean, I'll just especially as a player, you know, I'm constantly chewing on some kind of melody. You know, there's something going out. You know, talk about earworms. It's perpetual. You know, hopefully it's one that I like. But I travel with my horn in my truck at all times, just in case. It's like, if I get a chance, I'm going to work on this little melody. You know, just pull over, find a little spot where there's, you know, aren't too many people and the acoustics are okay, and then I'll just work it out. You know, just partly. I can use this somewhere, but also partly to put it aside, you know, like, okay, I can do that. Now I can shelve that. Right. And I can get a decent night's sleep. Get it out of your system. And I can pick it up tomorrow.
Yeah. Right. I'll be thinking about it all day.
Because I
scratch that itch.
I know for a fact I don't have ADD. I know people do. I mean, Matt does, and but I don't have any problem with attention. But I do have OCD. Really badly. So, but that's usually a thing that goes along with it too. With ADD, it's just ADD and obsessive compulsive things. But yeah,
they can be very complimentary. You know, it's one of those things. Every once in a while, you can get sideways. I got tons of friends with OCD, and it's one of those things where you get to a point where you get to an impasse, and you realize, okay, this is our brain chemistry doing this. You know, and the other 90% of the time, you're just complimentary, actually. You know, you just, you know, one person knows this something and pursues it. A lot of musicians I work with have some, you know, everyone's on the spectrum one way or another, you know.
Oh, I believe everybody is, no matter what, somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
I think everybody's on there somewhere. Even if it's just 1 degree or 2 that, you know, somebody might never notice, but there's little things about everything. But yeah, I think with mine, I just kind of figured out with my OCD more than anything, it's a soothing thing. It's a self-soothing thing I do with anxiety. So mine doesn't really do me any good. You know, I do things like I'm a counter, you know, like I walk in my room and count how many ceiling tiles there are, and, you know, something, but only when I'm anxious. You know, it's not like something that happens to me all the time, but, you know, there'll be sometimes it's like, I can better check and count those again before I can go to sleep, because
Right. Well, that's for a second there it sounded a little bit like mindfulness exercises, but then if you have to do it, then that's a different story.
I had a few times when it's like, you know, real anxious or something. It was something usually stressful, but when you catch yourself, you know, checking the door lock for like the 6th time or whatever, and it's like, but then you got to do it a certain, like, even number of times. That it's not, you know, it's not just security. It's just I didn't do it 8 times.
You got to have,
and you're like, okay,
some form of symmetry involved. Yeah.
You ever read David Sedaris?
Oh my gosh, I love his stuff.
Yeah, it just makes me think. One of my favorite stories of his was A Plague of Ticks, and it's him talking about his OCD, and just hilarious. It's sad, but it's also hilarious. You know, like I'm sitting in the classroom and my shoe is calling out to me, tap me to your forehead 3 times. Go ahead. No one will notice. Or the teacher talking to him. Like, David, do I come to your house and lick your light switch? Would you like And I thought, how ridiculous. You've got a perfectly good light switch of your own right here. Why would you want to come to my house? I'd lick my light switch. Yeah. He's a funny guy.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the same way. Mine's never helped me. My OCD never really helped me. Yeah. But I don't think I want me any of that ADD either. So you guys can keep it. I mean, I think
there are days when it's nice. There are days when it's not.
I can see getting it to work for you, but I like being able to pay attention.
There's some days it just doesn't work. I mean, it's and that happens with the music too. Everyone, like I said, has their own bag. They bring in, and it's sometimes someone's just not feeling it, or the focus is not there or whatever. But it's also one of the reasons why you rehearse. You just kind of learn how to plow through it sometimes, and other times it's like, wow, I wish it could be this easy all the time, and a lot of times it is. There's a certain truth to that. But anyway, it's
and if you get locked in with the right people,
right. Are you like me though too? One of the perks that I usually don't focus super well on any one thing, but if I'm like really interested in something, I can hyper focus, and I'm there.
Oh yeah,
right, and the whole world around me disappears.
Oh yeah,
and that can be cool too.
It is very cool, yeah, especially if you can manage that and be aware of it at the time. It's one of the that's very helpful. It's also, it can be weird with relationships too. Like, my wife and I have known each other for 20-something years. And it's like the hyper-focus interpersonally is great because one-on-one, it can be fabulous because you can make the other person feel like, they're the most important person in the room because, well, it's true as far as I'm concerned, And then, but to the detriment of everyone else in the room, So you got to be careful to go, okay, I need to pay attention to more than one person at a time sometimes.
Or, it could be the flip side with my wife sometimes too. Like, okay, I'm watching a documentary and this is really fascinating to me. And she's trying to talk to me. And I am completely oblivious to the fact that she's trying to talk to me because I'm like zoned in. Why aren't you listening to me? Oh, sorry, I'm literally not listening to you. Like, I can't hear you.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
You don't
I'm not doing that.
That's a man thing too. In general, just especially with like TV or music or things like that. Well, I mean, my wife even told me she was taking a psych class a long time ago, and she was just like, they found that men in a lot of cases can do that. You're like usually focused better on like one individual thing, but women are better at like multitasking and focusing on a number of different things at once. But they say sometimes, they find like men sometimes get more detail, but they miss out on a lot of other stuff that's going on around them sometimes. I mean, we're the typical male brain, and it's what she told me.
Oh, I know that. Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah.
It's just the interests are different too. I mean, I'm outnumbered. I've got a daughter too, so it's just like the stuff that they talk about, pop culture and stuff. It's just like, okay, now tell me who that is, and they educate me, and we kind of chuckle about it, but it's like, all right, teach Dad what's going on in the world of pop culture, because he's just focused on music and computers and stuff, and not much else, and dead music from decades ago, and stuff like that. But I'm just not invested, And on top of that, now you got YouTube celebrities, and they're, to me,
the influencers and
it's a perpetual stream of makeup tutorials going on at my house, which is like, I'm not interested in that. I'm glad it makes me happy. But,
How old's your daughter?
14. So
14. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got one who's 21, another one who's 11. So yeah, but she's starting early on some of that. I try to do the parental controls, but yeah, it's like the kids watching other kids play video games on YouTube, watching
that blows my mind.
them give each other makeovers or themselves makeovers.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. Plenty of it. Yeah, that's the same thing. And I'm supposed to. The funny thing is that she expects that I'm supposed to know who those people are.
Right. Right.
And I'm like, honey, a 44-year-old, Gen Xer. Why are you surprised that I don't know who the eyeshadow lady is? You're an 11-year-old
Right.
girl. I would have never expected.
But I mean,
would have never expected my dad to know who Faith No More was, or or how to play Donkey Kong or anything. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. My daughter, she loves that I'm in a band that she likes, but otherwise she doesn't care about any of the bands that I like. That kind of, which is it's to be expected, but it's
right.
I'm taking her to meet people who are celebrities because they're on YouTube, and I was like, I don't know these people, and okay, we'll do this. But, hey, Mean Motor Scooter's playing a gig. Yeah, we can get in and go see that. I don't know. It's just like, oh, come on. How about the Toady?
Yeah.
No.
It's just like that's the same way. It's like I'll get excited about a guest we're having on or something. Tell my daughter, oh, so and so's coming on the podcast. I don't know who that is. I'm just like, of course you don't.
Now, to her credit, she introduced me to Billie Eilish, and I like some of her stuff. So she does some stuff in minor keys. So
I like Billie Eilish too.
Yeah. She's got a good vibe, and she seems to have some good people around her. So that's a commonality. That's something that me and my daughter can appreciate together, But she's latched into that 14-year-old fandom. She is definitely a fan, and it's like I like her music, but you know way too many details about her than I would ever care to know about anybody.
Right.
All right, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But were you like that? John and I have talked about this before. Like
what you can find out about people now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. But I mean, we obsessively, we studied the mags, right? Back in our day, you went into the grocery store and you found the latest magazine,
Circus magazine,
Circus or Rip or one of those, or if you could afford a Rolling Stone every now and then, that sort of thing.
Right.
And it just devoured the entire thing. And that was how we, got our information. That was our internet.
Yeah.
Man.
And now you can just click hyperlink after hyperlink and fall into deep rabbit holes, and you're looking at
which is not good when you have ADD.
Yeah.
It's a problem. I will stay up all night if I am left.
Yeah, exactly. I'll lose
alone with it.
And do stuff. Yeah.
I actually got a lecture from my wife this morning about that. You can't keep coming to home or coming to bed at 3:30 in the morning. But I was just listening. What were you doing? I was just listening.
The Psychofunkapus played a show.
It was in 1930.
Yeah, exactly. I figured out the producer of the second album is there.
Right, you can't explain it, and why should you?
Nope.
You don't have to.
I personally,
no, I fell down a rabbit hole.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I can't. If it's after 4 a.m., I sleep on the couch. That's our rule. So it's like, okay, gotta hurry. It's 3:30. I gotta close shop. Go. But it works for us.
Yeah. Same way. Yep. It's past tiptoe o'clock. It's down here for the night. Yep. I've done that a lot.
The universals.
Oh, I was going to ask you, how long have you been doing the podcast?
Not long.
about 6 months now, something like
Is
that.
it
Maybe
even that? Is it even that, or 4 or 5, something like that? Not too long, really. It's kind of funny. We and we've told the story before, I think, but we started just kind of thinking, it's like, you know what? Let's just like start telling some stories and stuff. It's like we were having some conversations, like some of these are kind of funny, and let's just record them on the internet. And we were just doing it just for ourselves, just for shits and giggles, and we were like, we can embarrass our children with these later, And we just started doing it for posterity. And then it was like one day, and a mutual friend of ours, Lisa Umbarger, I was just a fan of, and posted like I was on the phone and on Facebook and shared like a Toadies video. I was like, it's like, she's always been one of my favorite bass thumpers. It'd be really cool to have her on the podcast one of these days if it ever lifts off. And she messaged me back and was like, yeah, I'm in. I was like, really? Because I just like tagged her, didn't know her at all. And so I just kind of jumped off, and we were like, well, okay, and
let's do this again. This is fun.
Yep. So then, just amazingly enough, just started thinking of a lot of people that I enjoyed listening to, everything else like that, and it's like, let's just keep it kind of an any man's show, and let's just talk to people like people, and but people, that have a story to tell. And then surprisingly enough, there's just a lot of really nice people that just start inviting, and they're like, sure, sounds like fun, let's do it. And,
right. And we didn't know what the podcast was going to be about. How do you think we got the name?
Yeah,
literally, it was undetermined. We don't know what it's going to be about from week to week or from hour to hour.
Yeah.
It's starting to find its voice, though. We're kind of getting into that place where we kind of know better who we are.
Either that, or
there's still going to be more to.
Yeah, it's either that or we just tell the same stories a lot, and we're old.
I don't think we've told a lot of repeats.
No,
yet.
Not a whole lot. We've known each other for a long time too.
I can tell
many years.
It's like music.
Yeah.
You guys have a good rapport, a good simpatico. So it's an easy fit.
Yeah.
It's a small world. Lisa and I went to middle school together back some years ago.
Yeah.
McLean.
Yep. And that was the thing. I saw it was like a comment or something that I made, and then I saw you on there, and I was like, I think I recognize who that is. And then clicked and I was like, oh yeah. It's like Henry the Archer. I love Henry the Archer. That's the horn player. So that's where I got you, like, just through her too. Just like, hey.
Yeah.
So,
I was actually. I was at their.
Lisa adores you, by the way.
I adore her too. Although I keep trying to get her out to jam, and she keeps ignoring my advances. But she's busy, with the new project. Yeah, I was a little embarrassed.
Yeah, the Soul Shifter stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm glad she's getting back into the stream, and getting out and playing some more. So I had to admit to her,
sure,
they opened up for the Lemonhead back, I don't know, 89, somewhere around there. A little place called Access Club here in Fort Worth, and I knew she was in the band back then with Todd and the rest of the folks there, but I took it for granted. We were out in the parking lot next, slamming Schaefer lights, getting ready for the Lemonheads, and I could hear her bass line coming through the wall. I was like, Lisa's playing. We better hurry up. And went in and got like the second half of their set, and they were just killing it. But I didn't even know they had a name back. But apparently that was the night they became the Toadies. Like, oh, that's cool. That's great.
Huh.
We had I was doing a volunteer. I do some a little show at KTCU, and back when I went back to school 20 years ago, and they haven't changed the locks. They let me come back in and do some things here and there. And it was a 3-hour show, and we did the top hits from the last millennium, and we got Todd back then. Vaden's name was Todd back then, but he came in as our guest, picking out tunes and reminiscing a little bit. Then, but they used to, back in the day, before I started working here, they used to camp out here. Apparently, they were the jocks and
at the station.
Yeah. This was like Toady Central back in the early '90s, which was kind of cool. So it's the station hasn't really changed that much. They digitized a little bit, but I'm pretty sure there's still essence of Toady somewhere on the upholstery here. So
right. Still scrape some DNA out of somewhere, I'm sure. So what's your show there that you do there at the station? Or should we
call it the good? We call it the Good Show. It's Saturday mornings. We did the latest one this morning before I went off to go do the IT gig. Yeah, we're very, very fortunate, and we're really lazy. We'll have people come in for interviews, but mostly we just play music. It's a mixtape every week, that we do, and it's all over the map. We're a couple old guys too, so it's like we'll play some new stuff that we like, and some of it's local, but then we'll just dig deep and find lots of obscure stuff that we just like, and just throw it out there, and. We kind of pride ourselves in providing, quote unquote, a community service. Anyone that has to be awake before noon on Saturdays, North Texas, we're really popular at garage sales and kitchens. People, prepping for lunch. But it's funny. It's isolated because you're stuck in a booth. You don't know. Unless someone picks up the phone and calls, but. You wander out, and go to shows and stuff, and people, people you had never met before come up to you and you're like, I heard that song you played last week, blah, blah, blah. It's like, wow, this is great. So there's this like, people know who we are. And it's like, okay, this is cool, and a little, I still get surprised, but
creepy.
A little bit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I worked in radio.
Yeah. Matt was a DJ
through a lot of college, and then a little after I did radio, and it was kind of strange at times. But yeah, you get like, it really kind of bugged me when somebody would call me and say, "Oh yeah, it'd be like a girl, sometimes kind of flirty with me."
Sure.
I came out and saw you at a remote last week, right? And I'm just like, so. I know zero about you, and apparently, you've been stalking me.
Right.
That was weird.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
like,
I had some pretty weird experiences. Especially overnights. Overnights is when it really gets weird.
Yeah. You get the drunks and the stoners and the stalkers after midnight. Yeah. And some of them are my friends, but the folks you don't know.
Right. Sure. Oh yeah, we'd get people. I'd have people call me up. Hey, play this song, and I'll bring you a bag. That sort of thing. Or I used to have. There was one. I had a donut delivery guy. He would like run the rounds every night, delivering donuts to all the like local shops.
Yeah,
and we had a deal. Like if I'd play a song for him, he'd bring me donuts. And I was like, that deal, man. Deal.
Oh man,
I'll take the free donuts.
Or so much free pizza doing that. Yeah, especially late in the shift and trying to get rid of stuff. And like, okay, just bring it by here. All right, we'll have some fun.
Right, gonna throw it away anyway.
But yeah, I still, I'm a middle-aged man, but there's still a teenager in me. Just like I get to push all these buttons. I get to play anything I want as long as it's FCC friendly. Yeah. And anyway, I love being able to find something that.
Yeah.
No, I had one of those unique experiences with one of the state. We were like, we didn't make any money. Everybody who worked there was there because it was a fun job to have. It wasn't because we were getting paid for it. The payment was, you got to, tell people you worked there. I'm a DJ at the Planet. What? That was something in that town worth talking about. And I got, a lot of promo CDs and backstage passes,
free concert tickets
to shows. And that was good enough. That was good enough for me to have that. And, I got a lot of stories out of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was your most surprising, getting to meet someone, that kind of exceeded your expectations?
In terms of,
he's got some crazy stories he's thinking of.
Yeah. I was
your choice, Matt. Your choice.
Sure.
I don't know. I'll let John. John, do you have like a favorite? He's heard all of my stories pretty much at this point.
As far as like the craziest stories, or like, well, I don't want to speak for you, but I mean, I don't know. That interview with Pa was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that was pretty good. I don't know if I want to.
I don't know.
No, it's not that I don't want to go there. It's just that
Mark.
That I want to relive it.
Yeah,
coming up very soon. So I'm going to sit on that one. That one's a good one, though. I can tell it. We can edit it out. Though. We can do it.
Yeah, we could. But Mark Hennessy from Paul is probably going to be coming on the show pretty soon.
I doubt he's in relation to your Hennessy. No. Anyway, but yeah, do you remember Pa from back in the day?
Yeah.
Lawrence band, kind of a grungy. Did a song called Jesse, was their biggest. He's got a band out now called Godzillionaire that's really good.
Yeah, check them out.
I'll have to check them out.
Anyway, so I was working at a radio station that was we were doing like a little, I don't know, Earth Day concert or something. There was some charity big concert we were having with a bunch of, for what we weren't a big station, but we were bringing in, bands like the Charlatans were the biggest band we brought in.
Oh, that's nice.
For that event. But Pa came in for it too, and we were, everybody was just kind of busy the whole day, and I was doing board op at that point, and the guy that had planned out all the interviews was supposed to be in the studio when the band came in there for theirs, and he was nowhere to be found. And time was going, and the manager was in there, and he was like, "You guys, you better do this interview now, or it's not getting done." Yep. And I was just like, "All right, well, I guess I'll figure out something," and I wasn't prepared for it at all. I'd never done an interview at that point in my life, so it was just kind of like panic moment. So, and Pa comes in, and Mark is just, he's blasted. He is just completely wasted. And and I'm trying to figure out what do I talk to this guy about. Yeah. And he just kind of takes over a little bit. Right. And he like pulls his pants down a little bit. He shows me his underwear. He's like, "Check this out, man. I hadn't changed these in like 5 weeks. I've had these on for this long." That's great, Mark. Hey, what do I do with this?
Thanks for sharing.
Just ended up hijacking the whole. Yeah.
Okay. And so I'm talking to him, and the only thing I could think to relate to them is that I used to get in trouble for playing them too early in the morning because they were pretty heavy.
Right. Right.
And he thought that was funny. And then Mark was like, "Tell you what, man, play any song you want, any song you want. You just drop your pants right now. Do it. Just do it. Just drop your pants, man."
Yeah. Yeah. Matt just totally got blindsided by him. He just didn't know what's going on.
What do I do here? Right? And there's a part of me.
Yeah.
At this point, the station had been bought by somebody that had some money. I was actually getting paid. It was like a real job. And I didn't want to. I'm like, man, I'm going to keep my job. I can't just drop my So I couldn't do it, but I finally got him to like. He still sang the song, but it was just like this horrible interview. But it's like comical in retrospect. And I'm looking for a talk to Mark, and I asked him. He doesn't remember.
Yeah.
He doesn't remember the interview. Big shock, and he was like, I've smoked a lot of pot. I don't have such a great memory. So I sat on that story because he's coming up, and I was just like, man, I'm not going to talk about this story like too much until I got him.
We'll still get his perspective, so it'll be good to tell it again. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that. That would be great.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to reliving that story with him.
I never did any radio. I was a studio rat, though. I hung around the radio stations a lot. Matt's brother was also a DJ, and then other friends of mine in high school were DJs. You all kind of took over that little radio station, West Plains, too, for a while.
Yeah.
Little town in Missouri. We went to high school in, and you guys, people wanted me to like go get my license and stuff, and come on and work with them and stuff. I think mostly just because they were looking for me to pick up some shifts,
right,
because I was there all the time anyway. But I just hang out there and get CD samplers and talk to girls and throw them at my wife. Yeah. I'm a studio rat.
For me, as somebody who isn't a musician, that's the closest I could get. I knew I could get into that. I knew, I didn't have musical talent, but I happened to come out, I pissed me off that I didn't have like a voice where I could like hit all the high notes and be like the, hair band lead singer that I wanted to be. My voice went the other way, but you know what? Second best, you can get really close to the side.
Oh yeah.
I can hit play and I can talk. And that's that. It's a pretty good second best.
Especially for the musicians that are on the road all the time and all that kind of good stuff. It's nice to be able to just not have to answer the same 10 questions, and freelance a little bit and have someone that's a good listener. Honestly, some folks just tend to talk without listening, and some musicians do the same thing, and it's a gift to be able to have that back and forth and facilitate a conversation, and just see what you find out along the way, including underwear stories.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and people are interesting if you let them be. I firmly believe that.
Yeah. I mean, it's like we said to people who just kind of cringe at the term interview. I just don't like it. I'd rather just talk to somebody, have a conversation with somebody. And that's when, we've even had a couple of guests before where it's like, we know that's, what they're used to. And that's what they're kind of just on an interview. Just feels stale to me. I'd rather just hang out, get to know somebody as a person.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just we were talking about that this morning off mic, but interviews, and we've been lucky because usually if you don't come at somebody with the same same set questions that promoters want you to ask kind of thing, then folks do want to talk. But there was a band that we were interviewing that was a touring band, and they were near the end of their tour, and you could tell when they came in the studio they were exhausted, and the feeling was that I had the feeling that they forgot that they had a radio spot to do, like they were all ready to go home before they got to the studio. And it was one word.
Oh, another one of the.
Yeah. It was like, yes, no, and it's like, and you just felt like, oh my, how do I ask a question to get them to, say more than one word at a time, but fortunately that really, this only happened once or twice in, 15 years or so. So we've been lucky that way.
Lucky.
But
yeah, definitely. Yeah. And yeah, like I say, I agree with Matt. I do think the term blessed is overused, but I think we have been just been really lucky to run into some great people, nice people. Everybody from Fort Worth we met's been great. I know that. It's odd.
It doesn't feel like it should have been as easy as it has felt.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And it's not like that we haven't worked, but the fact that we're talking to you, but maybe part of it is, I'm getting a little philosophical right now. We think people are cool, if you let them be. So of course everybody feels
Right.
like fucking hey, yeah, they're awesome, man. How lucky are we?
Right.
And we just let them be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I do appreciate it.
Are you need to wrap up pretty soon?
Sure.